Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our fifth session in our series on changes and coping with those changes. I want to thank you all for joining me here today, and as always, if you have comments that you would like to make, questions you'd like to ask, please leave those in the comment section, either on the Facebook page where this will be posted or on my YouTube page where this will also be posted. Until then, but for now, let's jump right into things. Today we are talking about the three visitors that come to Abraham and Sarah. So we're in Genesis 18, verses 1 through 15. Before we get to this reading, though, we do have a couple icebreaker questions. The first one is, what do you think is the ideal age to have children? My thought is when you are, I would say between 25 and 35 is the ideal time. You're young, you have the energy to potentially handle having a little kid running around the house after they've ripped their diaper off, or even just for the sake of biologically, physiologically being able to have those children. Body clocks have not worn down as of yet in the average person. Granted, I'm already 30 years old and Katie and I are yet to have children, but maybe that will change soon. Regardless, that's what I've always dreamed of, but granted, I also thought the ideal age to get married would have been 21, right out of college, and Katie and I didn't get married until we were 27 and 28, so much for that. That's my response. What do you all think is the ideal age to have children? Let me know in the comments below. Our other icebreaker question is, when have you laughed at the wrong time? Where do I begin? I'm one of those people that laughs in really uncomfortable situations. I don't know why I laugh in really uncomfortable situations. It might just be some kind of nervous tic or some nervous reaction. But I don't know. If there's just this really awkward pause, if there's this really strained conversation going on, if I see someone yelling at someone else, like a parent yelling at their child at the supermarket, I've been known to have to bite my tongue so I don't laugh. It's just one of those things. But anyway, what about you all? When have you laughed at the wrong time? Let me know in the comments below. So again, our reading is Genesis 18, verses 1 through 15. I invite you all to follow along in your books if you will. But anyway, here's the reading for today. Listen now for the word of our Lord. The Lord appeared to Abraham near the great trees of Mamre, while he was sitting at the entrance to his tent in the heat of the day. Abraham looked up and saw 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he turned from the entrance of his tent to meet them and bowed low to the ground. He said, "If I have found favor in your eyes, my lord, do not pass your servant by. Let a little water be brought, and then you may all wash your feet and rest under this tree. Let me get you something to eat so you can be refreshed and then go on your way, now that you have come to your servant." "Very well," they answered. "Do as you say." So Abraham hurried to the tent to Sarah. "Quick," he said, "get 3 seahs of fine flour and knead it and bake some bread." Then he ran to the herd and selected a choice tender calf and gave it to a servant who hurried to prepare it. He then brought some curd and milk and the calf that had been prepared and set these before them. While they ate, he stood near them under a tree. "Where is your wife Sarah?" they asked him. "There, in the tent," he said. Then the Lord said, "I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son." Now Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent, which was behind him. Abraham and Sarah were already old and well advanced in years, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing. So Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, "After I am worn out and my master is old, will I now have this pleasure?" Then the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Will I really have a child now that I am old?' Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah was afraid, so she lied and said, "I did not laugh." But he said, "Yes, you did laugh." This is the word of our Lord. Thanks be to God. So our first question is, when did Abraham realize the Lord was visiting him? Immediately? When the visitors asked about Sarah by name, when the promise of a son was given, when he was asked why Sarah was laughing at herself, or laughing to herself. To me, it seems like he realized it immediately. He bows low to these strangers. He refers to them as Lord. He humbles himself before these 3 people he's never seen before. It seems to me that he realizes who this is immediately. Something about them just gives off this aura of being divinely inspired, or being divinely endowed, I guess would be a better phrase. But in my opinion, it's instantaneously. He sees them and he is instantly prostrated. He's referring to them as Lord. He is begging, "Please don't pass me by. Please don't pass my wife by. Let us serve you." But that's my opinion. Let me know what you all think in the comments below. Question 2. If you were Sarah, childless and 89 years old, how would you have felt about what you heard? Dumbfounded, ecstatic, disbelieving, scared, frustrated that it took so long? I guess if I were in Sarah's shoes, I would be disbelieving. Now, granted, this is a man putting himself in the shoes of a woman, which by no means do I claim to understand what it's like to be a woman, whether in this time or in ancient times where women were expected to be subservient. but I feel like I would be disbelieving, just the same as if I were told at the age of 89 that my wife Katie was going to bear a child, or that we were going to have a child. To me, that just is like, I'm too old for this. That can't possibly be right. You have the wrong person. But that's my interpretation. Let me know what you all think in the comments below. How would you have reacted if you were in Sarah's situation? Number 3, how would you describe Sarah's laughter? Suppressed, she was trying to contain herself. Sarcastic, yeah, and A will run a marathon. Sinful, she displayed her lack of faith. Or spiritual, she was honest with her feelings. I would say it was sarcastically spiritual. I could see either of those being, it's not necessarily that she had lack of faith. She was very honest about her feelings. She, probably it was a little sarcastic. Okay, they're both very old, older than my grandparents, for that matter, or older than any of my grandparents lived to anyway. So the thought of my grandparents having a child, it's kind of one of those, yeah, right, kind of moments. So I could see it as being sarcastic. I could see it as being spiritual. At least she was honest. But what about you all? How would you describe Sarah's laughter? Let me know in the comments below. Number 4, in what ways has God brought laughter into your life? Through my children, through my spouse, through friends, through helping me to see the humor in stressful situations, through all the joys in my life, through sending his son, or something else? Well, I'm assuming that comedians don't count, but I mean, in terms of thinking of laughter as joy, definitely through my spouse, through my friends, and also through reflection. Being able to look back upon how stressed out I got in certain situations, studying for the ACTs, trying to get those perfect grades, beating myself up because I got an A- instead of an A. Thinking that not having a 4.0 GPA is the end of the world, and just the utter ridiculousness of my thought processes in the past. Just kind of that evolution of self and that genuine reflection on who I was, what I thought was, the most important thing in the world, and turned out it wasn't. So that's definitely brought me laughter as well. But what about you all? In what ways has God brought you laughter in your life? Let me know in the comments below. Question 5. What does the question, "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" mean to you? That nothing is too hard for God? That I need to be brave? That I need to stop doubting? Or something else? There's nothing wrong with doubting. I'm just going to give that disclaimer now. I've said that in Bible studies. I've said that in sermons. Doubt is, in my mind, the inspiration for further research, for further exploration, asking of questions, obtaining greater clarity, that the doubt dissipates and a stronger faith is left behind. To me, doubt is a stepping stone towards faith, so never stop doubting. I mean, by no means don't be cynical about things, but don't be ashamed of doubting. Doubting is an important part of growth. But for me, I would say that, it's kind of a rhetorical question stating that nothing is too hard for God. We say that God created the world and everything in it. When we think about that, we think about the tangible things: plastic, wood, paper, human flesh. We think about the tangible things. We don't necessarily always think about the intangible. The fact that God created knowledge, God created wisdom, God created thought processes, sight, hearing. God created the five senses. God created all of these things. If God is able to create everything tangible and intangible, really there's nothing that's beyond God's power to do. Nothing is too hard for God. So that's what the question really means to me. It's this rhetorical question basically saying that really there's nothing too hard for God. Nothing is beyond God's power. But anyway, number 6. Where in your life do you need to exercise more faith? At home, at work, in a relationship, in regard to finances, other. In regard to finances. Just plain and simple. In regard to finances. For better or for worse, Katie and I are not fabulously wealthy. We have aspirations of adopting children. Both of us have aspirations of going back to school. We have 2 cats and a dog, both of which are mouths to feed, doctor's appointments to make. We have doctor's appointments of our own. We have cars, we have a house to pay for. We have all of these expenses that we're not just accumulating mass wealth, unfortunately, but all the same. And so sometimes we do get into a little bit of sticky situations, and it comes down to, okay, we're staying above the surface, but only just barely. How are we going to make it so we're not just kind of ebbing and flowing in the water, but we actually have forward movement and growth? But as I've mentioned before, God works in mysterious ways, and those questions have been answered on their own. Something comes along, and what do you know? Poof. All those questions, all those worries go away. So definitely in regard to finances for me. What about you all? Where in your life do you need to exercise more faith? Let me know. As always, our last question is, how can this group pray for you? Please, if you have questions, comments, concerns, please let me know in the comment section down below. I always have my phone on me, so give me a phone call, shoot me a text, give me an email. I do get email on my phone, so let me know. Otherwise, that's all for today. We will continue with the final session in this series on kind of coping with changes next time. So until then, stay well, stay safe. God bless.